can we say that anyone is evil in this world?
The prison system is basically supposed to be like rehabilitation as opposed to like, punitive. You know what I mean? So, and it's just like I don't entirely think that they get it right, because if you look at South Africa, like, um, after you get released from prison, you have a criminal record that lasts for 10 years, right? So then you also have to look at, okay, what else? What's the most crimes that are being committed in South Africa? And it's theft, right? And where does theft stem from? Theft stems from poverty. So the criminal record essentially perpetuates the cycle of poverty, which is basically why you have like a 98% like reoffending rate. Like, despite its rehabilitation, it doesn't necessarily work, because it's just like afterwards the person is like left with nothing to do.
Do you think if R. Kelly had to come to South Africa to perform, do you think he's selling out?
No.
Definitely, without a doubt. You have one group that's just like, no, this guy is basically the image of women are not protected, and then you have the other group, whereas it's just like, oh my word, it's Chris Brown, tell me how do I breathe with no air? And it's just like, they're constantly at a clash, and it's just like, I'm not entirely a fan, and neither am I a victim of gender-based violence. You know what I mean? Well, kind of, but yeah. So do you think gender-based violence is only a woman thing?
Good day, good people. Welcome back to another episode of Group Therapy. I'm here with
Romeo Black
and
Lee.
Okay, the opener for today is, we're going to speak about a very trendy topic, and people have somewhat different opinions about it. What are your guys' thoughts on the current situation with C Breezy coming to Johannesburg and the backlash he's been getting?
I get the context of why he's getting backlash from it, because of his previous, gender-based violence, claim, that happened a couple of years ago, and that other partners came out and said that he's abused them. But I also understand that a lot is to do also with the global political thing in the music kind of thing going together. So like if you look at the whole Diddy thing, so now there's people
party like a Diddy party.
Exactly. So
Are we going?
So there's been like hyper criticism on like Hollywood, and so that therefore when he came here, it's kind of people are inflamed about it as well. And granted that we are a country with the worst rates of gender-based violence, so
yeah, that nigga's
yeah. So it's kind of sensitive topic to a lot of South Africans, especially South African women. So I can get why people are upset about it as well.
Are you going?
No.
Why?
I don't know. No, I didn't. No money. First, no money. Secondly, I don't think I would have, even if I had the money to, just because not really someone that I listen to as often, but I do like Chris Brown, like his music, but I don't listen to him as often as for me to go to a concert. Cool. Yeah.
Who do you listen to?
Hey, stick to the topic. We'll go, yeah, later. Timestamp.
What was the question?
What are your thoughts on the whole Chris Brown situation? Like, why do you think there's so much outrage? And do you think it's like exaggerated? Is it warranted? Oh, yeah. What is your general overview on what's currently happening? My fans are getting excited. Say something deeper. It's paradoxical.
Say it.
Anyway, I think I understand why people would like, create, like, women would create like a petition to stop his concert, in the sense of like, you get people that are victims of being SA'd, being abused in households, being abused by people that they most trusted and people that they were most vulnerable around. So then obviously the presence of Chris Brown in South Africa serves as a trigger towards them. You know what I mean? And then you juxtapose that like with Chris Brown's fans, and you have to think about like when last Chris Brown was in South Africa, and it's just like you have one group that's just like no, this guy is basically the image of women are not protected, and then you have the other group, whereas it's just like, oh my word, it's Chris Brown, tell me how do I breathe with no air. And it's just like they're constantly at a clash, and it's just like I'm not entirely a fan, and neither am I a victim of gender-based violence. You know what I mean? Well, kind of, but yeah. So
Kind of.
What?
do you think gender-based violence is only a woman thing?
No, but you said kinda, so it's like I was
Yeah,
like,
no,
so you kind of a victim?
Yeah. I don't want to relive
Why
my
would you
trauma.
open that floodgate?
Yeah.
No, I just thought about it, but
Okay.
like
Well, I guess we don't have to trauma.
Bond.
I'm also a victim.
Yeah.
I'm
No.
a woman, so in South Africa, so most
So-
likely I am a victim. So.
Yeah. So it's just you have these.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, but yeah, it's you have these two groups. You have you have people that were victims who see Chris Brown as like the face of like women are not protected and GBV. And you basically have this other group who are praising Chris Brown because they're focused more on like who he is as a musician, as opposed to like who he is like with his partners. And it's just like there's this constant clash, and there won't necessarily be like an understanding between like the two different groups, because it's just like what Chris Brown means to those two different people. Those two different groups are completely different. Like they view Chris Brown as like a hero, super fan, because you can genuinely like you can justify anything that anyone can do if you're like that obsessed with them. Like there are people. There are people who still like glorify like R. Kelly in the black community. Like, nah, what's it called? He was what's that word they use? Framed and everything, despite the loads of evidence that they have against him.
Wait. Do you think if R. Kelly had to come to South Africa to perform, do you think he's selling out?
Definitely, without a doubt. Because you must understand like the kind of like climate that we're living in. Like social media, there's so much output. You post like 50 videos a day. You know what I mean? Like
Who's you?
so you can imagine like the amounts of output like that happens on social media. Like people tend to forget, and there are people who still like back R. Kelly. So like I genuinely believe that R. Kelly would be able to fill out FNB, because people genuinely forget. And as I said, two different groups of people. People would view R. Kelly as like pedophilia, women are not protected, and people will be viewing R. Kelly as like, I'm the star up in the sky, I'm the mountain built up high.
What song is that?
The world's greatest.
Oh, do you know another one?
Um,
Shit, I would think you're a fan.
The thing, I think, if you look at the thing with like R. Kelly as well, I don't think he'd sell out FNB, because I don't think he's that relevant anymore when it comes to music. But I do think like the diehard old schoolers that love R. Kelly and still listen to him would still go. But I think like a lot of his music kind of aligns with his crimes, like a lot of the lyrics and stuff. And I know a lot of people think definitely there's now a hidden meaning behind every song, and there's people that completely refuse to listen to it, and I think that's why a lot of people would not be great for it. No, this is a pedophile that really abused a lot of women, let's just not go there. But other people would, and I think some people, I mean, if you look at the Anna Dalvey thing where she went to Dancing with the Stars, people don't really care anymore whether you were criminally convicted for something or not, and what the context of it was. And some people are just fine with it, and I think that's just the world that we're living in.
It's intriguing. The other question pertaining like the conversation that we just had, do you guys, because the majority of social media saying, oh no, it happened when Chris Brown was 19, and there are other cases, but they're not as famous, so they were like watered down. I do not know like the in-depth of that, but let's just paint a picture that like, yeah, no, it did happen only when he was 19, and currently now they're still trying to condemn them for that. Do you think society is too focus on how do I word this? Do you think society is not forgiven, or do you think we should forgive more, or rather, do you think the I'll get that into that later on, but like, yeah, do you think society should be like more forgiving, considering that he, yeah, had the incident when he was 19, and it's so much, there was so much room for growth and becoming a different person. I'm not saying that he is or he isn't, but
It
yeah,
happened when he was 19.
yeah, the Rihanna situation, yeah,
He was 19.
yeah.
Didn't it happen more recently as well?
There are allegations. There's a documentary coming out that's saying like there are
Was
more women
surviving
that
Chris
came
Brown.
out. That's not the title, but something along those lines. Yeah.
With Rihanna.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew it was Rihanna, but I thought it was like probably like 5 years ago or something like that.
They were teenagers.
Oh, okay. So if you think about like the prison system,
That was the next topic, but I will go.
yeah. So the prison system is basically supposed to be like rehabilitation as opposed to like punitive. You know what I mean? So and it's just like I don't entirely think that they get it right, because if you look at South Africa, like after you get released from prison, you have a criminal record that lasts for 10 years, right? So then you also have to look at, okay, what else? What's the most crimes that are being committed in South Africa? And it's theft, right? And where does theft stem from? Theft stems from poverty. So the criminal record essentially perpetuates the cycle of poverty, which is basically why you have like a 98% like reoffending rate. Like, despite its rehabilitation, it doesn't necessarily work, because it's just like afterwards the person is like left with nothing to do, because they can't necessarily build a CV. And I understand, obviously, victims would be like, that's what they deserve, and I completely get that, and I completely sympathize with them on that. At the same time, what you have to focus on is like, you have to balance. Okay, do we prioritize the victim's retribution, or do we prioritize like the how do you put this, man, the the crime in South Africa, you know what I mean? And it's just like you have to put those two together, and you have to like reconcile and find like a middle ground, you know like, should we be more forgiving, or should we just let these people rot in jail when they reoffend? And it's just like, when they reoffend, they have more victims, and it's like a constant cycle, you know
Yeah,
what I
so
mean?
you feel like we don't properly equip them to go back into society. You're released, you were punished, and it's like you're gonna be punished in life for that. More likely to revert back into survival mode, which is crime, because it's like, if I can't get a job, if I can't do this is this. But it's such a nuanced topic, because I kind of get why it is the way it is. Like, if you had the opportunity to provide like a middle ground, what would that look like? What would it entail? Is it like less years? Because there could be a lot of negatives from like, okay, no, maybe we just scrap it out early. What would your solution be?
I don't think people should get like less years for stuff. I think
Not less years,
Yeah, but-
not less
yeah.
years as in less time, less years with the criminal record. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think it even matters as much, because even if your criminal record is shorter period, for that period of time you've lost so much for like a year or so, or for 2 years, 3 years, no matter how many years it was going to be, you will lose quite a lot in that period, just of how job creation versus like how your CVs work, how people accepted your reputation. You'll most probably apply somewhere where people know you for a job, and that whole thing with the reputation, all of that works. I think a really big thing is, you could have that criminal record, but essentially the prison reform, how you rehabilitate people and you equip people to be better in prison as a whole. Prisons are built to make criminals that maybe came in for petty crime to come out with even worse. And it's terrible that that's the world that we're living in, because it's not supposed to be that way. I think in most countries where you actually have successful prison reform methods, you find that people are less likely to reoffend. So I think it's very difficult in a country that we have so little resources as a whole, and difficult resource management when it comes to most things. Unfortunately, someone that is has a criminal record is like lost on the totem pole when it comes to things. I mean, so many things are just not looked at. Teaching, education, all of that is not managed well. So then we go to prison reform and we're like, oh, how are we going to get time, money, anything for that? So it's quite sad, because I mean, being in like hospitals and stuff, we're actually exposed to a lot of prisoners, because they come to public hospital to get treatment. And it's quite sad, because like you don't necessarily, you see a person in them like in a vulnerable state, and you get to speak to them about like, you know, their sentencing, how it is, you know, and it's a completely different completely different face side to someone that, you know, like, oh, that's a criminal, and then you go and have a conversation with them and it's a lot different, and you see a completely different side to certain things. So I think people are people, and there just needs to be a better way to help people when they're in that state, you know, especially young males. You know, it's a very, very sad, the system that we're in, where young males continuously have to just live victim to their mistakes and don't get the help for the mistakes that they make. You know, it's very sad.
I'm obviously asking a hard question, but like, what would the system look like? What, like, if you had to think of solutions to implement?
I think it's stuff with what are the reasons why people are in that state, right? So you kind of have to work from the ground up when it comes to any form of you know, managing or changing a system, right? So you start from the ground up, from kids, from school, where they are school, the schooling system, allowing a space for kids to not go into all of these difficult circumstances, right? And then you move on up all the way to your prison reform, where people are educated, they learn skills, they learn different types of ways to interview and all of that. We lack that kind of teaching in any system whatsoever. You know, you don't learn how to do a CV, you don't learn how to present yourself, you don't get the opportunities like in prison afterwards to actually have a clothing that would make you look presentable at a job. So yeah, I think those things are in place, and have a less volatile system in a prison, you know.
Okay. Like somewhat like a first principle approach, as in like deconstructing everything,
Yeah.
looking at it from the bottom up. Or,
Yeah, you can't be wiping the floor while the tap's still on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit. Sorry.
It's okay. And you?
How
Damn.
Yeah. Shit, what a bar. What was your how do we
Solution.
the solution? It's something that I've been thinking about. I actually wanted to like write an essay on it after like doing like a research. But I think you have to like look at the crime that's committed and basically like establish the root. You know what I mean? So if you look at like a crime, like if you look at like sexual assault crimes, like there's something that I learned about like called like a paraphilic disorder. I mean, because what's a paraphilic disorder?
It's a disorder, sexual disorder.
Yeah, but like it's mental, right? Like it's mental, so much so that you want to be like a perpetrator. So it's not something that you want to do, but it's something as a result of your mind state, right?
Yeah, I think I think most PDF files.
Yeah. Oh yes, yes.
PDF files. It's gonna get taken down because of most of them is like a mental illness. I think like there's something like wrong with you if you're sexually attracted to a child.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that people ought to do out of being malicious. I think Sam Harris, he's a like neuroscience, argues it a lot. Is like there's a lot of this like criminals or PDF files, you can like their brain patterns and wave patterns are different to us. It's not a, I can't say entirely it's not just being evil, but
you know, then all of whether we're supposed to let psychopaths go to prison or not. I think it's based off of a pathological. So something like your PDF files, you look at a system of whether they are able to yes, they might have a different brain pattern, and that's a very interesting thing to go in when it comes to psychiatry and psychology. But do we say that that's okay?
No.
You know, because do we allow someone's mental illness to be the detriment of others? You know, that's a very tricky thing. Yeah, but I get what you mean with it being a mental thing.
Yeah, why I mention it is not at all to say it's justified. It's just it gives you a different reference point. Yeah, when you're like, okay, this is not just he's not just an evil human being. He can't help it, but that is not justified.
But then it goes into the rabbit hole of whether someone's evil or not. You know, like, can we say that anyone is evil in this world? And how do we stratify that?
Can we?
Can we say that is anyone evil in this world?
So, yeah, I'm asking you, do you think we can?
Oh, that's a very difficult thing because you don't know someone's mind. You're not in someone's mind. Not even a psychiatrist can get fully into someone's mind and know why a certain person does something, right? And do they purposefully do that? And you go into a lot of like people with antisocial personality disorder, which is basically disorder where someone is manipulative. They try and do bad things, and that's, you know, sometimes it starts from childhood where you can't really call it that. You'd call it conduct disorder, but they like harm animals, they manipulate, they steal, they lie, they just do it. And then you can be like, that person evil? Can we really identify whether people are evil or not? We do, because at the end of the day, someone did something terrible.
Yeah.
And they continuously do something terrible with no remorse for it.
So Romeo has this interesting thing that he states that you shouldn't focus on the outcome, not of the process, or what got him to do that evil thing. Do you want to explain?
I think that's important.
Yeah.
I think that's very important.
That's how you establish like the root, you know. As I said, like, you know, being a PDF file is being a PDF file is a paraphilic disorder, you know. So it's just like, and it's so weird in the sense that like because I'm from the township, right? I stay in Soweto and everything, you know what I mean? Dude, you get someone in Soweto who, and I'm not saying like, you know, BPD is the equivalent to, you know, a PDF file, you know, but like you'd ask them about like Speecho, they'd be like, Speecho has his moods, he's crazy, that one, you know what I mean? Like the other time he was speeding, that one, we can't trust him. He's just a bad person, you know what I mean? And he has his moods with us. But Speecho has bipolar disorder. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. Before you even conclude, I think the thing is he's less harmful to society than a PDF file. Yeah. That's why they're treated differently. Like
100%.
Were you trying to argue like the confusion or?
No, I'm basically saying that.
Sorry.
I was saying that can be questionable whether someone is less.
No, that's not the argument I was making.
No, I get. Yeah. No, but what he was saying,
yeah.
If someone's, you know, less harmful in a PDF file compared to someone that has also a mental disorder, but they also do stuff that can either be perpetuated by the mental disorder or they just do it by themselves. But it depends on actions that the person does.
Yeah. So the reason why I said less harmful is like you said BPD.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of people with BPD that are functioning in society, whereas I can't say for sure. Yeah, I can't. But like, how do you treat PDF file?
There are like studies for it, but I don't know. Like you can't really. It doesn't really work.
Six Less is saying they should kill them.
Yeah, you should kill them.
That's crazy.
Death penalty, right?
Because why I say that it's like it's easier to like control and like with the meds and stuff, and then so the outcome of it would be more harmful because we can kind of like mitigate. Yeah.
I mean, people do crazy things when they're in there, depending on what kind of bipolar you have. You know, if you've got bipolar type 1, you do some really crazy things.
But like,
in your psychosis.
if you had the option to leave your kid with someone with BPD or a PDF file, which one would you choose? You have to choose.
Neither, because I've had someone that has bipolar. I've interviewed someone with bipolar type 1, and they've hit someone with a massive thing, plank in their face, and it was just because that person was saying hi to them. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I wouldn't do either of them.
I hear you.
Because you don't know whether someone is going through a psychosis or not. You know, like if you're looking at kids, we don't want to play with any of them. So, you know, like, not saying that everyone that has bipolar type 1 is harmful, and that's definitely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that for instance, like that person that goes crazy and whatever, maybe he's not on meds. depending on whether someone's
Yeah.
on meds or not. So with me, if both were not on meds, or if someone with bipolar type 1 isn't on medication and they're actively psychotic, I would not give my child. And also with a pedophile, if I know that person's a pedophile, I would not give my child no matter what.
I hear you, but for me it's like
It's one over the other.
no, like I'm not like I hear your argument, but for me it's like and I have no stats to back it, but like from a probability standpoint, I rather take my chances with like the person with BPD, because
No, I
there's
get
a
what you
reality
mean.
where they can regulate it naturally, or it doesn't manifest in a way that it's harmful towards kids. But with the person that's a PDF for certainty,
Yeah, I think it's important. I think definitely someone that has bipolar and they are calm and they're not actively being psychotic. I think they're very trustworthy in that sense. They can be very trustworthy. Obviously, most probably never, ever. Yeah, but I get what you mean.
You were saying
Yeah, I was basically saying that the analogy stems from a point of that if something goes undiagnosed, it becomes worse and worse, and the person becomes much more erratic. You know what I mean? So you can put someone who is a PDF file in prison, and they're gonna come out, and maybe they can get reintegrated into society. But I think how the reintegration should work is that they should go to what do you call those places where people treat you for mental health?
A hospital?
psych ward,
A psych ward in a hospital?
Yeah, I think
rehab.
I think
But that's just
yeah. I
but
think
yes, it's a psychiatric institution.
yeah.
Okay.
I think PDF files should go to psychiatric institutions so that like so that they don't perpetuate the crime further, because it's something that isn't normal, and it is a disorder. You know what I mean? It's a terrible disorder to have, and
Yeah.
there's no coming back from it. Like there's genuinely there's no coming back from it with regards to like your societal status. And the best thing to do for that person is just like, yo, dude, listen, you need help. Let's go treat your paraphilic disorder so that you can be reintegrated into society.
My thing is purely because of the little 2 weeks of psychiatry that I've done, is that it's very difficult to treat something that has no actual tangible form of curing or treating whatsoever, right?
Oh.
Because I mean, if you look at paraphilic, it could also be aligned with a person's kink, whether someone's a masochist or sadist or all of that. So and whether you obviously need to also identify whether this is actually a pathological, in the sense that this person, you can have like poor insight into something generally, like that's how people with any mental disorder might have very poor insight into their condition and believe that they can't be like, oh, I have this condition, this is how I treat it, I need to take this medication, and that's how it works. So it's very difficult, because it's the same thing. Not saying that these things are comparable, because they're not really comparable, but it's like treating someone's kink, and it doesn't make sense to treat it when. But maybe, we never know, maybe some magical psychiatrist or psychologist is going to come up with a treatment, a therapy, do some crazy thing that will prevent someone from doing that. But I haven't heard any like actual tangible treatment for such things.
Audience, let us know if we're waffling or if there's something. Comment. I actually want to maybe in 2 weeks or so want us to speak about the difference in intellect in different race groups. Yeah, maybe we can all do a bit of research. I know the Bell Curve was quite a famous book where who was it? Something Mario. Was it something Mario? I forgot. So I think we can go and prep and then come back and see everyone's different perspective on this specific topic. I think it would be really cool, and just
What a topic.
yeah.
That's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
It's triggering.
It's triggering, because then we're like, okay, is one race superior than the other when it comes to intellect?
I remember in
Yeah.
grade 4, right?
Yeah.
So in grade 4, I sat next to Stephanie in maths, right? And then I remember Ms. Stradom was handing out our maths papers, And then she handed it out in like, from the lowest to the highest. So I usually got like, I was always low, you know what I mean? And then, Evan, I'm seeing Evan, there's 5 papers left, you know what I mean? And then Miss Stratum was like, okay guys, top 3, well done to Mishu. And then she hands me a paper. I'm shocked. I'm like, what? And then Stephanie was absent on that day. So then Stephanie asked, wow, who are you sitting next to? I was like, what? I was like, yo, Stephanie actually thinks that I copied,
But that's not any racial thing.
No, it's not a racial. I'm not saying it's racial.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's racial. I was sharing a traumatic experience, Bucky.
I'm saying it was valid to ask.
Being smart is very difficult. I think also with that thing, you also have to identify
what is intellect, because it's like can manifest in different ways.
Very much so.
Like someone can be smart in performance
I'm
art.
not street smart, but I'm book smart.
Yeah.
You're not street smart.
Not as much.
Oh yeah.
No, not as much as like if I compare to my siblings.
What is street smart? Like what is that?
I don't know how to explain it, but like you it's just intrinsic. You know what I mean? Like you. Like for instance, the other day I was walking with Zipo. We were coming back from the garage, and then so these guys crossed the road, and I'm like, chill, you know what I mean? And then they're walking in front of us, and then I see one of them on the left has a knife. I'm like, hey, interesting, someone's about to lose an iPhone 15, and then they're walking, and then I'm just like, nothing happens, And then we cross, we get back into Campus Central, and I told Zipa, I'm like, yo, hey, did you see that guy there? He had a knife. And then she was like, what? And then, she was like, yo, if you had told me in that moment, I would have screamed. Yeah, So the thing is, I'm from the hood, you know what I mean? I literally stay in front of a hostel. I hear gunshots every time I go to bed.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I know any day could be any day, and you just there's so much that can startle you.
So I'm trying to like find a way to like define it. So I hear your example, but would you say it's more so like based on your environment and your experience, and someone that hasn't experienced, like, let's say, being in a township where they hear gunshots and they're not exposed to that. When they get exposed to that, they'll be shell shocked. So therefore, and they won't know how to navigate it. Therefore, they're not street smart.
It's like if, for instance, like, remember when Oscar got indicted? The people who called the police, they're like, no, we heard a gunshot, and that's why we called the police. In my hood, if you call because you heard a gunshot, it'd be like, okay, did anyone in your house get shot? No. So then why are you calling? It's Soweto. What are you expecting? You can't expect to hear birds chirping, So
It's not Soweto, guys. That's why the birds are chirping.
Soweto doesn't know.